Come on down to Cinemassacre Video, where selection is the name of the game. We got comedy, drama, action, horror, movies for kids, movies for mom and dad. Cinemassacre Video in the Voorhees Memorial Shopping Center next to Caldor.
Dang, those are some cool looking clothes. Where'd you get them?
Well, let me tell you, I got these at bombfell.com.
Bombfell.com, you say?
Bombfell.com is the new and easy way to buy men's clothing. Start by filling out a short survey and Bombfell does the rest. After completing the survey, a stylist will send an email with your personalized clothing selection.
My own stylist, huh? I hope they have lots of denim vests.
Bombfell sends your clothing in the mail and gives you 7 days to keep what you like, and everything else you can just send back. And the more you keep, the less you pay. Keep 4 items and get 20% off, keep 3 and get 15% off, and so on. So why don't you head over there, pick yourself up something, and you can style and profile like me.
Wow, James, that's a lot of information you're giving me. It's like an information bomb fell on me.
You upset me greatly, Kieran. So head on over to bombfell.com/cinemassacre today and receive $25 off your order. That's bombfell.com/cinemassacre.
I don't remember VHS as being this small.
Beta. Yeah.
James? You're supposed to be open for another 5 more minutes.
Yeah, we need to return our tapes.
Shh, be quiet and they'll just go away.
I got Street Fighter. It's my copy, but I figured we could talk about it again or something.
I gotta return Jason Goes to Hell, the unrated cut. I don't want to get another late fee.
They always do this. Yeah, don't worry about it.
James!
James?
Listen, it's cold.
So yeah, haven't seen you guys in a while. We got the video store here, and let's just talk some video store memories.
What was behind that curtain? I'll tell you when you're older. I never did look.
I'll tell you what's behind the curtain, my career.
I'm a big fan of the rental store. Mm-hmm. I worked in a movie theater for the longest time, but because when I first got a job in high school, most rental stores were already gone. So, except for like Blockbuster. But I remember as a kid, like every Friday night going and getting, a tape and having them for the whole weekend or a game or something like that.
Were you one of those people where when you rented a game, you would rent it so many times where you probably should have just bought it? Oh, yeah. Like if it wasn't cost effective?
Not so much. I might talk about that later, like the best games or like things we've rented numerous times, but just stores in general, I wasn't too big into rental stores because I don't know. I guess because we already owned a lot of like Disney tapes and different things.
I was, and it was always a situation like it is right now. I would always every day drive my bike to the video store. As summers, mainly on the weekends and everything, I would ride my bike there, just get about 6 movies. We had a bunch of family videos around. We still do have a lot of family videos.
It's like the only one that survived.
Yeah, we still have like 5 in Springfield, but also places like in Springfield, Illinois, Lakeshore Video. There was like a setup like this and everything, and I would be 10 years old. We would just be there shooting the breeze about it, like me and the employees, and because my parents didn't care what I rented. I could rent just whatever the hell I wanted. And like the employees didn't care either. So I'd be like 10, 11 years old, go up and rent The Shining. And the employee, like talking to me as a kid, the employee would just be like, you know what my favorite line is? I'm going to bash your fucking head in it.
Oh, man. Well, PG-13, who gives a shit? Enjoy.
The ratings didn't mean anything.
I remember when you'd rent the video games and like the NES games in particular, and the manual of an NES game, the instructions were like about the same size as the cartridge, and they just fit perfectly in those cases. But you had to be lucky because usually somebody kept the instruction manual and they don't have them.
Yeah. Whoever read the instructions anyway? Nobody read the instructions.
Apparently somebody did. Because,
That's why at our store it was always the easiest games that still did have the instructions in them. It's like, oh great, well now I know how to play Donkey Kong. Thanks. Like,
how do you play Pong? I don't get
it. Sometimes you'd be lucky somebody would actually have passwords written in the notes in the back.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was always like, and even had in the instruction books to like write them down.
Save slots. Do you ever have a game where like you save a game and you're just hoping the next weekend when you rent that game, your save slot is still going to be there. And I've seen people write things in there like the name would be "Please don't delete" or something like that.
I like the ones that actually played so far and they saved so far ahead that when you start, it's like, oh, I'm on the last level. Cool.
Oh no, if it was a game that I would get that would be incredibly frustrating, I'd be like, you know what, screw it, I'm going to use this other guy's file and skip ahead like 10 levels.
I like the idea of like, oh yes, the hero of time, please don't delete is here. Because that's like Link's name now or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, they would always have something playing, a movie or something like that playing. Some of them had like nothing but trailers saying like, hey, we have this movie, but some would just play a full movie, and usually they're advised to play something PG, but then you get that person that's just like, again, I'm gonna play The Shining or something like that, like a hard R movie for everyone to see.
Oh no, that was me, because I worked at a video store. Customers would have great reactions to like something we would have on, like we put in Godzilla Final Wars had just come out, so we put that in, and we just got a copy of that, and there was a Japanese guy who would come in a lot, spoke very little English. He came up, rented something, saw that playing, and just kind of smirked and looks at me and goes, I remember this. I was there when this happened. Like they would love it whenever we would put on stuff. No one cared about like the trailer DVDs.
Like he was there when the movie came out, or
no, he was making a joke.
He was there when
as if this is a true story, and he was there watching all this destruction happen.
Can you prove it's not a true story?
I'll see if I can find his own file.
You put all the Godzilla movies in the documentary series section. I don't. Did you work at a chain, or was it like
I worked at a Hollywood Video.
Oh, okay.
I remember one time trying to rent the Teen Wolf cartoon as a kid and getting the live action movie instead and being upset about that. So have you ever tried to rent something and you got the wrong version or something like that?
A buddy of mine worked at a Suncoast Video, and they would always just like swipe stuff. Like if they got too many DVDs or something, they were just like, okay, I'll just keep this for myself. So he did that with a DVD of Halloween, takes it home, and he's watching the trailers first, and he's wondering like, I wonder why all the extras and trailers are for Halloween 4. It was a malfunction DVD of Halloween that had the Halloween cover, Halloween on the disc, but you put it in and it was Halloween 4. And he's like, well, fuck, I swiped it, so I can't take it back, so I just own Halloween 4 now.
I remember getting a lot of PlayStation games that would just be scratched to hell.
Oh, yeah.
That was always a problem.
Oh yeah, even especially when Netflix started and you had when they had the DVDs where you could mail it in, or like you'd rent a movie, they'd mail it to you, and then which is a whole other story. But anyway, like anytime when I would get those DVDs in the mail, Netflix DVDs never worked. They were always scratched and everything.
We would have to clean those constantly. We would have one of those buffer machines, and like just after like every day, it would just be stacks and stacks and stacks. And then I would sit there and I go like, if there was ever any problem with a VHS, I could just fix it myself. Like sometimes it would happen and the film would be snapped or something like that. Like, oh, I know how to fix this. You just open it up, put the tape on it.
Have you ever rented a movie on VHS and there was a particularly erotic scene and it had those scratch marks on there, like someone rewound it a lot?
Fast Times. Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh, yeah.
There was a movie I rented called, I forget what it's called. Angel Heart, and it's a great movie. And there's one particular erotic scene, and just suddenly there was like somebody rewound this so many times you couldn't even make out like what was going on. You couldn't make out the footage at all. We're just like, someone watched this a lot.
You guys ever go to the adult sections?
I was too young for that.
Yeah, I mean, the only time I did was in college.
Yeah.
It was me and Mike. I'll throw him under the bus, and we did. But we would sometimes go just to laugh at the titles. And I remember one title in particular. It was called Blow Me Sandwich. And the cover was very literal. And it was just looking at these ridiculous, because as a kid, like, you never knew what was behind that curtain. But then, like, looking at it as an adult, it was like, these are ridiculous. I mean, just look at these, like...
There's one day I went in a video store and I was by myself and I'm like, I'm finally gonna do it. I'm gonna see.
Yes.
I mean, and I knew I was behind there, but I'm like, man, I'm gonna do it. Rite of passage. I'm a man now.
Yeah.
Let me go do this. And I went in there, and they were so much sillier than I thought they would be. Like, I thought it was good. Like, because they always have like a dark curtain, and you think it's gonna be like really creepy back there. Oh, this is where kids shouldn't be. And it's the silliest shit is back there, and it's just so funny. And I was trying so hard not to laugh. Like, yeah, I guess even though I was an adult, I was still acting like a little kid. Like,
It's hard not to, because we would go back there, and instantly the thing you see, and like me, we'd have a party at my place, we'd rent a couple, and we'd just look for the funniest titles, and you could find it within seconds. You just go in there, turn around, and like, oh, we rented Foreskin Gump and Honey, I Blew Everybody.
You know what the worst thing was? There was a video store, TLA, and they're closed now, but there's a couple in Philly, and I remember at TLA, we never did rent any of those, but probably for this reason, maybe. I don't know. But you didn't take the tapes up there. Like, they had all the tapes in the back.
Yeah.
You would go up and just say the name of the title.
Oh, yeah.
And if it was one of those movies, could you imagine going up there and like saying like, "Hey, blow me sandwich"? Like, you have to say it out loud, or like you could write it maybe, but it made it more embarrassing than it needed to be, and it was.
Here's what I did. Like, okay, so there was one time I go in there, like they had Caligula like back there, so I'm like, I'm gonna go rent Caligula. So I go back there, rent Caligula. I'm like, I'm gonna look like a creep if I just take this up there. So. My dumb ass is like, well, here, I'll make myself normal and also rent a kids movie. Like,
oh, wait a minute. Like, no one's gonna look at you weird at all.
Yeah, oh no, seriously, I leave and I get in the car, I'm like, wait a minute, I just made myself look worse.
I mean, it depends on the kid movie. Was it like Rockadoodle?
It was, no, it was
Rockadoodle.
It was the porn version, Cockadoodle.
I remember what it was. It was like Caligula or one of the Caligula knockoff movies, and the kids was like a best of Donald Duck tape.
I'd like to see Caligula with Donald Duck voices. I think that.
Oh yeah.
Wow, it's
It's just duck fisting.
Yeah.
What his tail can do.
well, let's see other video store memories.
You were talking about you worked at Hollywood Video.
Yeah.
I remember like West Coast Video and Blockbuster, and everyone's talking about Blockbuster, the '90s Blockbuster, but Blockbuster and all these stores killed the mom and pop stores like this one, and I'm really sad about that because I like the mom and pop
but this
stores.
store's been a little slow, I have to say.
It's picked up since you started carrying Blockbuster.
Hey, now that you have Ernest Scared Stupid, man, shit's gonna pick up.
Yeah.
I didn't like going to Blockbuster. Like,
neither did I.
People have nostalgic memories of Blockbuster because maybe that's just what was there and they grew up going there.
Yeah.
I get that, but I personally didn't because I had so many other better video stores that rented that Blockbuster would never carry anything above an R, and like it would
kid
be
films
like
were never free. Or
it was expensive. Like you could never get an uncut version of something you wanted to see. The only time that I would go to a Blockbuster is because it was the only video store in Springfield that actually had a few Pam Grier movies.
Oh, okay.
So I would go there to get like coffee or Foxy Brown, but that was it as far as I can remember.
I remember they had a few like the game selection I remember being pretty good at Blockbuster. Like better than the mom and pop store.
You know what's funny is like that was the best one that we had, like Blockbuster. But I've heard the same thing all the time that, because I've watched all these VHS documentaries. Like there's one called Adjust Your Tracking, for example. There's another one called Rewind This that's also really good. But the consensus is that really the true age of the video store was back in the 80s when like we were probably too young, but like that was when in the 80s it was like all these movies that could have never been in theaters, like just they would go right to the video store, and it was this new platform for like indie filmmakers and like all these exploitation films. But then Blockbuster, what they say is like the beginning of the end. That's actually when it became more like streamlined, and it's like nobody can compete with Blockbuster, so all these mom and pop stores started going out of business.
Yeah, they cleaned it up.
Yeah, and like, because Blockbuster, you'd go in, it'd be like one shelf that's just all like an Adam Sandler movie that just came out, but all these like, Just ask Lloyd Kaufman. He'll give you he'll give you the full video store rant and like how Blockbuster killed the video stores.
I also remember there were video stores in grocery stores and in gas stations.
We had plenty.
Like that.
Libraries, stuff.
Pizzerias. There's like a pizza and then
you're right about that because like me and my I have like a sister the same age. We would go and rent like weird horror movies from like the weird stores. You go bottom shelf. So like we're sitting there at like 10 years old watching like Sleepaway Camp and stuff like that, and we're just like, wow, this is fantastic. Or like really bad like vampire movies that I don't even remember the title. I was typing in things in Google, like things I remember from the movies, and nothing comes up. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm a huge Italian horror fan. And I got in that because our video store, the one we had in Chatham, Illinois, had just like a big clamshell of City of the Walking Dead.
Oh, yeah.
And like you said with Sleepaway Camp, I remember renting all 3 of those in the same night. It was the greatest night in the world.
Have you ever seen Laserdisc in a video store? Because I never have.
I did at Suncoast Video.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
They would sell those at Suncoast.
But I mean, selling, not rent.
Renting? I don't think so. Like...
Because this is a
those
laser.
rentals?
Well, this is a laser. No, not. I've actually never seen Laserdisc, but I've always imagined like. Well, you said you saw them.
Yeah.
Were they like displayed like this, or were
Yeah,
they like
they-
all like kind of packed together?
It wasn't like this. It was sort of like, it was sort of like if you were going into like a record shop and you flip through.
Oh,
like
so you
it's-
have to flip. Yeah, that's what I figured.
It was
See,
like that.
What I remember at Suncoast,
did
they had
you,
a couple that were up, like, hey, here's where they are, so you would see them, and then they were sort of lined up like to the side, like
Okay.
that. We have them lined up, yeah.
I remember thinking, I was like, wow, like Laserdisc. I mean, because I only heard about it in like I took these like summer film courses and stuff, and I remember like film professors, they'd always have like Laserdisc because they had commentaries and things like that.
Yeah.
And I remember it's like, oh wow, you got to flip it over and stuff, but you don't have to rewind it. It was kind of like, all right, well this is going to replace VHS eventually, but then DVD came out like nowhere, and I'm like, wait, it's smaller than a Laserdisc.
It looks better.
And I'm like, wait a minute, it looks better, and it's like you don't have to flip it, but it's smaller. So how do they fit more on it if it's smaller? I didn't get that. I also didn't get that Laserdiscs or analog, and DVDs are digital, obviously. So that's kind of weird itself to think that Laserdiscs are sort of like records almost.
It was also
like,
interesting to see, like, because there weren't many dual-sided DVDs at first. And the Lasers had that from the start, and a lot of schools had them because you could flip through and do slideshows and weird stuff with them. And they were also, like, I've seen them with, like, gashes in them, and they would still play. Like, they were, like, super scratch-proof and super, like, easy to, because you're just, like, chunk. DVDs would just get destroyed.
Oh, yeah. There were some like there were some early DVDs where you could tell like they were just kind of taking things from the Laserdisc. I mean, even the DVD for Amadeus and Goodfellas, you had to flip it over halfway through. But if you listen to the commentary on some of them, I think like one of the RoboCop DVDs, one of the commentaries is like, when this comes out soon on Laserdisc, so like just take that from the Laserdisc and put it on the DVD.
oh yeah. Have you ever seen CEDs?
I never even heard of it.
Yeah.
Capacitance electronic disc. It's basically like, okay.
Is that just the disc, that whole thing?
Yeah.
What?
The disc, so basically the disc comes out of here. Now this was a
Oh, I thought like that was just it. Like that with the that was it
you
right
can't
there.
take it out, but it comes out when you put it into the player. So
okay,
you
wow.
pop it in, and it's kind of like the Ghostbusters trap, where you put it in the machine and then you pull it back out, and then the main compartment is inside.
That's a good idea, just because then you don't scratch the thing.
Yeah.
I found out about those the hard way because it was The Shining. I got one of those for The Shining and just thought it was a laser disc. Because you know how like there'll be different styles of VHS cases. There'll be clamshell, hard shell, big box. I thought that was like kind of the same case with that. Like, yeah, just like a different style of box for a laser disc. And I'm sitting there wondering, why can I not get this out? Why is this not working?
Because laser discs were around at the same time.
Yeah.
And so was Beta and VHS. So there's 4 different formats that you could have gotten between 81 and 84. Because CED didn't last long. It was only a few years. But like, that was weird. Could you imagine like at that time that you'd have all these confusing formats?
Well, sometimes you always see something like, I mean, we had Blu-ray pop up, when DVD was around, even then, like...
HD DVD?
Yeah, HD, DVD and stuff like that. So, I mean, I feel like there's always going to be different versions popping up that they're trying to push, and they might even be at some, like, I guess not many rental stores, just family video and stuff, but that they're always going to try and push it. It's how much do they catch on? I mean, even with VHS and Beta, I mean, one finally died out. They both died out, but one died out faster.
But they would, like, our video store would even when they would stop renting beta, they would still keep some of the boxes. So it'd be like a VHS of Flashdance, but the display case would be the beta box.
You just see a giant VHS like sticking
That's
out
what
of
it was. Yeah, it was this size, but it was like
A lot of times they did that where like, okay, this is the beta, but this is actually the reverse thing where it's a VHS thing because they didn't want to make a different box.
Yeah, but
it's a
short ones are
beta,
there.
so it's actually like a shorter tape, and there's styrofoam on the top.
Would fill it in. Yeah.
But they put a sticker on it that says beta just to let you know.
I have a Dirty Harry beta that's like that, where it's the same looking Warner clamshell as the VHS, but it's a beta one, and in just the tiniest print on this big case is beta. I'm like, this is just trickery.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I like what you're holding, the Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah.
That's a beta sized thing, and
Yeah.
that's the way they all should be. But those are pretty rare. Like you don't see those.
You know, I'm wondering if anyone else has this memory. You guys go to Chuck E. Cheese when you were kids?
I took my daughter to Chuck E. Cheese once. I haven't actually gone to Chuck E. Cheese as a kid, believe it or not.
Okay, all right. Well, something they had is that they had all these movie posters that had like Crocodile Dundee, but with a Chuck E. Cheese character in there.
Oh, really?
But they were movies like Crocodile Dundee that no kid would see. They had Temple of Doom with like, Munchie or Munzie or something like that on there. So that was my first exposure to a lot of these movies. I go down the rental store being like, ooh, I want to see, Goodfellas, because Chuck E. Cheese are in there and stuff. And my mom would always be like, no, it's an R movie. I'm like, Chuck E. Cheese makes R movies? What? And it was so confusing to me.
That's bizarre.
Because they would totally replicate the poster. They're actually really well done, but you'd have like a purple monster there or something like that. It was like the exact same thing.
I don't remember that.
Nobody remembers that?
I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember
it was actually my earliest exposure to a lot of these movies. And like Jaws and stuff. Like, why won't you let me see Jaws, Mom? Chuck E. Cheese says it's okay.
I remember this because they would always make me laugh because sometimes it would be for like some hard R movie, and I would just kind of laugh like, so in this universe, do these movies play out the same way, like Goodfellas, but with like Chuck E. Cheese characters?
Is Chuck E. Cheese just taking out someone's heart in Temple of Doom?
Yeah.
Puts like pepperoni on it, goes,
So have any of you guys ever been to a video store where you couldn't decide on what to rent, where you just walk around and look at everything and...
Yeah, I think but the nice thing is then you'll choose something that maybe you're like, okay, I've never heard of this, let's give it a shot. And it could be really good,
But you're gonna watch it, because I remember spending like quite a while. Either I'd just be hanging out there, or maybe it would take me a while to find something, because there was, in Chatham, Illinois, there used to be two video stores across the street from each other. So I remember looking at one, say like, well, maybe I'll rent that, driving to one across the street, not finding anything, like, oh, I'll go with my first choice, driving back across the street.
yeah.
But no matter how long it would take you to find something, if you're browsing around for like an hour or two or whatever, you would still watch it. You know what I mean? Like, you'd have it home, you're like, I'm obligated to watch this over the next couple of days, versus putting something in your queue and that's just where it goes to die.
Yeah, exactly.
My wife, we have two family videos near us, and my wife still, even though we have Hulu and Vudu and Netflix, all this stuff, she's like, let's go to the video store, because she likes looking around. She likes actually trying to see what's new, what's something maybe, Vudu or Netflix wouldn't have, and just seeing the stuff that, either new or old or whatever. And she says she just likes actually looking around. She likes searching for it.
It's so much more fun than like clicking.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, I do have to say, obviously, it's like you have to drive to the video store.
Yeah, I get it. I get why Netflix took off.
you had to rewind the tapes before you bring them back. And then, like, if they wouldn't have what you were looking for, that was the worst. And you're like, oh, well, I guess I'm here now, so I should get something else. And then when you bring that back, you're like, well, I'm here, so I should rent something else again. And you keep that chain going, and then until, like, And
you might find something cool that you wouldn't have found if, what you were originally looking for was originally there. I mean, I credit that with having seen so many movies to begin with, because, like... Granting 6 movies at a time, that's what you got for the week. You're just renting it by the truckload, going home. You know that you're most likely going to watch them in the week or few days, however that you have them rented. Again, versus like, you have on streaming, you have so many things at your fingertips, and you're not really gonna watch any of these. If it weren't for a video store and going there and be like, okay, this is what I'm renting for.
It's more of an obligation.
And I never would have seen some stuff. I grew up like weird stuff like Don't Go in the House or something like that, or House by the Cemetery.
Yeah. And it is like, obviously it is convenient that you could nowadays you could look up any specific movie. If you're looking for something in particular, you could probably find it on either, it's probably not on Netflix, but you could probably find something specific on like Amazon and rent it or whatever, and you could see it right then and there at any hour of night. And so it's like that. Obviously it's convenient, you don't have to rewind it, you don't got to take it back, you don't got to get in your car. But we miss it at the same time.
I feel the same way about cable, because that's why I still have cable, because I like, maybe I'm having trouble sleeping or something, and
just put it on.
You know what I mean? Like I stumble across something on some random channel at 3 a.m.
Oh yeah.
Maybe some cool old horror movie or something like that I wouldn't have seen otherwise.
Yeah.
I guess overall, what's your guys' favorite rental store memory in general? Like not a specific game you'd always rent or a movie you'd always rent, but like moment in general.
I know my worst. I would not like. Not, it's a bad memory, but just the worst is just not being able to decide what you want. Like I actually sometimes I think I still have dreams about it, where like you're like in a video store and you're like, what do I pick?
Yeah.
What do I pick? I gotta pick something. And it's just like this panic, and then it just, never gets resolved.
That's some, Edgar Allan Poe shit, where you have these dreams about like a video store nightmares, and you build one in your goddamn basement.
The Twilight Zone episode. They're all checked out.
Best memory, I don't know. There's not really any like specific memories, because it's just like how successful you are in finding the movie you want and how good it was. That's the only thing I really think. I do, I guess my best ongoing memory was my next door neighbor. We used to rent movies all the time. And we did this one stretch, like this one marathon, where we would return the movie, and then after we watch it, we'd return, get another one, and we kept that going for a really long time. I feel like it was like half a year or something. And that was a good memory, because it was like every night we were watching some movie.
I have one that was kind of over time, where I was big shot going through a nostalgic phase, and pretty much like I got obsessed with watching like old Disney cartoons and animated movies and stuff like that I hadn't seen in years at this mom and pop video store had. And so I would go and rent them, clearly for little kids, and they didn't cost anything because they were free. And the girl up there would always kind of look and just be like, Smurfs, huh? Because I'm a grown man. I'm renting this, but I'm like, I'm going through a nostalgic phase of just like, what of it? So I would rent it and then come back and get out like these old Chip and Dale cartoons, and she just kind of give me this look again. And it kept going on. And at some point she said that, I forget what, I think it was like Secret of Nim or something like that. And she, so when I came back, like the second time or third time after I rented that, she said, I decided to watch one of those, that Secret of Nim. That was really good. And I said, yeah, you see, there's some good stuff. And I was renting something else. It was something like Land Before Time or something. And she's like, is this good? I'm like, that's good too. And she said, I'm going to start checking these out. So, I mean, this was someone that, clearly wasn't interested in kids' films or cartoons or anything like that. She was suddenly discovering this stuff because I was renting this weird shit. So, like, just over time, keep doing that. It's like, I turned someone on to, sort of these new movies that maybe she never would have watched.
See, if you should have had, like, the opposite thinking of me, if you didn't want to feel weird about renting a kid's movie.
Rent a porno with it.
I think my favorite memory, which I know I've been busting on Blockbuster for a while now, but the Pokemon Snap station they had, where you would take your memory card and put it into the machine, and it would print out things you took pictures of in Pokemon Stadium or Pokemon Snap. Because I'm a bit younger than you guys, and I was like really into that like system, and like everyone, and I think it had like a modified N64, and you could just play stuff, like you could play Pokemon Snap on it. But I really liked like the system. You said, you get like the little stickers, you could put them on stuff. I don't know, that's dumb, but it was fun.
I like when they would give you shit about what you were renting, like, because I mean usually it would be something that would turn out really bad. So I remember when From Dusk Till Dawn 2 came out.
Oh, okay.
And I love the first one. So the second one comes out, I'm like, okay, I read this. it went direct to video, so I go there and bring it up there, and then the guy's sitting there like, oh, yeah, have fun with this piece of shit. Just hands it to me.
Usually, at Blockbuster, I guess that's what it was. Like, you didn't have to know that much about the movies, but Blockbuster employees, I don't think they really ever had an opinion. Like, the only time I ever remember somebody having an opinion was I remember hearing somebody renting Angels in the Outfield, and the employee was like, oh, you gotta see the original. The original was so much better because they didn't actually show the angels. It was more like, but that was the only time. Like, usually they just seemed more like they just didn't care. They they'd bring you up and that was it.
Especially at Blockbuster, which a lot of the employees call Ballbuster, because they're about like, get the people to rent more stuff, get them on 5-day rentals, have them buy this. I mean, because like Kieran, who we threw out of the store earlier, I guess, kind of.
He might still be lurking around.
He actually used to work at a Blockbuster, and the whole thing was, they'd make much like working at like a GameStop, where they're like, you got to push the magazines, you got to push the food, you got to push don't have opinions on movies because you don't make the customers upset, and it's all these teens that were doing minimum wage jobs, like they just don't want to talk to anyone. They're just like, okay, I work at Blockbuster.
Boy, you just brought back a memory. Actually, and now I wish we invited him in because he could tell us all about this, because he knows the answer. He's explained it to me before.
I mean, we can always do a cut in where he's, we can always pop him in. Like, did you know that Ray Dawn Chong is Tommy Chong's daughter?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Did you know that it's actually Kitana, not Katana in Mortal Kombat?
That's probably why everyone was so mad at us.
Yeah.
What I'd love to ask him, Kieran, what was the deal when Blockbuster said that they're not going to have late fees anymore? How did that work? Like, how did they get around that?
I think James is talking to me in my mind.
Oh, you sure it's not the security camera with the speaker attached to it?
Oh, yeah, never mind. Because he was asking me about rental fees at Blockbuster and everything.
Yeah.
And I used to work at, several different video stores. Not just Blockbuster, but another one also after that. So the thing about the rental fees is they got rid of them, but they introduced something called a reshelving fee or restocking fee.
Okay.
And what it is if you rent the movie and you bring it back too late, which you would get like, an extra day, but if you brought it back past that day, we just charged you the whole price for the movie, so you own the movie. So, but the thing is, you can't rent again until you pay that entire price off the movie. So we used to get people come in and be like, well, there's no late fees. Why are you charging me $20? Because DVDs were $20 back then.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it's not a late fee. It's like either you can, say you return it.
Yeah.
All we do is we charge you $1.50.
Okay.
But then people are like, well, that's a late fee. It's like, no, it's a restocking fee. It's a one-time fee. It doesn't accumulate. So technically it's not a rental fee, but we used to get people coming in constantly screaming at us. And this one time, back when the movie Crash was a big deal, we had like 100 copies at our store.
Yeah.
And this guy brought it back, or he comes in to rent something. And I'm like, hey, you have to pay for the movie before you put it back or whatever. And he's like, well, I returned that weeks ago. And it's like, well, no, in our computer it says you didn't.
Yeah.
So he's freaking out on me. He's like screaming at me, cursing me out and everything. And I'm at the store, like people are in line. So I'm like, all right, well, let me look for it. So I go through everything. I go through the Dropbox. I go through, we have a dead movie pile, which is all movies that don't have stickers or whatever. I'm looking through that. I go even out to the shelf and I look through every single copy of Crash for the serial number. None of it's there. So I tell the guy, I'm like, look, I don't know what to tell you. Like, are you sure it's not just at your house? He's like, the fuck, you think I'm stupid or something? I don't know, blah, blah, blah. So he's screaming at me and I'm like, look, sir, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Like, I don't know what to tell you. So he's like, I'm never fucking coming back here again. Fuck all you people, blah, blah, blah. He's screaming at us. He leaves. So like my shift's going on and I'm going through the Dropbox. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you go through the Dropbox and I hear the Dropbox go off and it's a copy of Crash. And I look up the window and it's the guy. Like he must have went home, found the movie somewhere, popped it in the Dropbox, didn't even have the decency to come in and be like, dude, I'm sorry, I found the movie. I didn't mean to curse you out for like 45 straight minutes. And I just like saw him and pointed and just was like, and he just was like, and just ran to his car, got in. I never saw the guy come in again, but that's the thing. Everybody talks about how Blockbuster was great and all that shit, Blockbuster was cool if you're going to it.
Yeah.
If you work there, it fucking sucks. And I hate Blockbuster, and I'm glad it went out of business.
I never got a chance to work in Blockbuster. I went to apply once, and I asked this employee there, like, hey, what's it like working here? And over the next half hour, he told me his whole story about how he lived in Florida with his girlfriend, and she cheated on him with his best friend. He was in love with her, and he was so mad, and he wanted to kill her, but he moved to PA instead because he just wanted to kill them all the time. And he was so upset. And at the very end, I was like, cool, do you get like discounts or something? And then I never got the job, but I have this guy's stupid fucking story in my head for the rest of my life.
Blockbuster fucking sucks.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Actually, James, now that we have you, can we come in? We have to return some tapes.
Yeah, and it's really cold out here, man.
Well, thanks, Kieran.
Do you guys want to go over to the porn section and check that out in here?
Oh, I already have.
I thought you would never ask. Do you also have a Donald Duck dick?
Thank you for checking out Cinemassacre Rental Reviews. Take a look at our other videos, and if you want to get some sweet Cinemassacre merchandise, head on over to store.screenwavemedia.com.